HBO is developing another Game of Thrones prequel. What's it about? We'll talk about all that and more in today's edition of Salty News. Hey everyone, how's it going? Matthew Kadish here, member of the Salty Nerd Podcast, the internet's #1 podcast that talks about movies, TV shows, and pop culture, all with a healthy dose of salt. And in today's Salty News, we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite fallen TV show, Game of Thrones. Now, if you guys are like me, you were incredibly disappointed with the final season of Game of Thrones. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a season of TV that has turned the fan base on a show more than season 8 did with Game of Thrones. I was always a fan of the books. I liked the books way back far before the TV show ever came out, so before it was cool. And to me, the TV show doesn't even exist. I just focus on the books. And speaking of the books, HBO is actually taking a prequel book that George R.R. Martin himself wrote and completed, by the way, to develop a potential prequel series for Game of Thrones. And basically, this is the Tales of Dunk and Egg. For those of you who might not be familiar with this, these are basically like some short novellas that George R.R. Martin kind of wrote just on the side, keep his creative juices flowing back when he was actually finishing books. And it tells the tale of Sir Duncan the Tall and his squire, who was eventually became king of the Seven Kingdoms because he was a Targaryen in disguise. But this was the Hedge Knight books is what I knew them as. And basically HBO, still licking its wounds from Game of Thrones season 8, it wants another golden goose for its original series. And unlike the Targaryen show that they're kind of doing, which is another prequel, they're actually taking source material that's already been written and thinking about developing it into a series. Now, right now, the preliminary title for this series is called Dunk, in relation to Sir Duncan the Tall. But, I'm hoping that they decide to change that. I don't know why they wouldn't just call it the Hedge Knight. But what do I know? I don't work for Warner Media or HBO. So Variety has basically learned that HBO is seriously developing a 1-hour show based on these Dunk and Egg novels. And it takes place 90 years prior to the events of A Song of Ice and Fire. It kind of talks about, Aegon Targaryen the Fifth and Sir Duncan the Tall, who became the captain of his Kingsguard. And basically he was the king before the Mad King Aerys sat the throne and kind of ushered in the events that led to the great, kind of War of the Five Kings that we saw play out in the Game of Thrones series. So the good news is that Dan and Dave Benioff have absolutely nothing to do with this series. It's being developed by a different company. And HBOMax, is really hungry for new original series that can bring in people. Right now, they don't really have a lot. Their big thing was it Raised by Wolves? I don't know if you guys have checked that out quite yet, but I'm about 3 episodes in and I'm not really liking what I'm seeing. It's very hard to get through. It's not like I'm sitting there, it's like, oh, I really want to watch Raised by Wolves. So HBO Max is missing these water cooler shows, the shows that like get people excited and talking and, tuning in week to week to watch. It's a very big dry spell right now. And you can tell that they're really wanting another big Game of Thrones level hit. And of course, they keep going back to this well and developing Game of Thrones prequels. And they're falling into the same trap that Star Wars did, where they get stuck in the prequel era. Like, why not go forward? Like, show us something new. But then again, there is source material with which to draw from on these Dunk and Egg novels. And let me tell you, the Dunk and Egg novels are actually really good. I really enjoyed, reading these books back when George R.R. Martin was releasing new books. And it's very different from what the current prequel series that's being developed, the House of the Dragon, I believe it's called, is because that novel that they're basing that on, it's more of like a encyclopedia type novel where it talks about and then, the Targaryens did this and then the Targaryens did that. So it's kind of like a chronicle of the fake history of Westeros. And there isn't a whole lot of actual drama. Like if you've ever read the actual Game of Thrones novels, The Song of Ice and Fire, The shows actually stuck fairly closely to them, and at least in the first 4 seasons. And the stories in those novels were so rich and interesting and fascinating that it was a real joy to kind of see them be put on the small screen. And the Dunk and Egg novels have that potential as well, because it does have a lot of fun twists and turns and interesting aspects that kind of really fill out Westeros, in terms of like the mythology and the lore and the history. So I would really love to see the Dunk and Egg novels come into fruition. In fact, the Dunk and Egg novels were something that fans were looking at back when HBO was developing 5 or 6 different Game of Thrones spinoffs, and everyone was saying like, "Hey, go to these books. Like they're written, they're good. You can make something of them." And HBO, for whatever reason, just decided not to go in that direction until now. So basically, we're going to be getting another Game of Thrones prequel potentially. It'll be interesting to see how this kind of shapes up with what's going on with House of the Dragon right now, and if House of the Dragon is going to be any good. There's a lot of ill will towards the Game of Thrones shows right now, so I'll be interested to see like how HBO, Warner Media, and all these guys kind of navigate this minefield. But the real question here is, what do you guys think of this news? Are you excited for another Game of Thrones prequel? Are you still burned by season 8? Are you looking forward to revisiting Westeros? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, because liking the video really helps us with the YouTube algorithms. And as always, check us out at the saltynerdpodcast.com if you like talking about movies and TV shows and enjoy laughing while you do so. This is Matthew Kadish, and I will catch you on the next Salty News video.